Reality. It's more than a linear path. It's a prism of endless possibility.
Well, that doesn't sound ominous at all.
What if?
Give me the tour.
Hello, welcome to My World of Stuff. My name is Paul Mount. If you're interested in videos about films, television, books, DVDs, Blu-rays, physical media and just general entertainment, this is possibly the place or a place for you. So why not like and subscribe, press that subscribe button wherever it is, and you'll be updated for new videos whenever they arrive, which is, a couple of times a week, 2 or 3 times a week, depending on when I upload them. Today's video is a bit of a special video. It's an exclusive look at a brand new series that's coming your way tomorrow on Disney+. It's the latest Marvel Cinematic Universe TV series, and we've had the 3 live action series this year so far: WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, and most recently Loki. Now we've got an animated series entitled What If? Now this, as some long-term Marvel fans may know, is based on a comic book series launched by Marvel in 1977, which postulated stories, alternative universe stories, if you like, as the name sort of suggests. What if a certain event had happened or hadn't happened, which led a certain character down a different narrative road. And Marvel Studios have created this as a brand new animated series, which, as I say, debuts tomorrow on Disney+. I think the episodes are dropping every week, which takes that idea and runs with it and does it in an animated form. Now, this isn't a kid's Saturday morning cartoon by any stretch of the imagination. I've been lucky enough to have the chance to see the first 3 episodes for review for Starburst magazine, and you'll find a link to that magazine and hopefully that review down in the description below if you want to have a look at it. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I remember reading the What If comic back in the 70s, and it just seemed a bit fanciful. These slightly pointless stories about things that didn't happen even in the Marvel universe. But I think what's interesting about this series arriving now is that Marvel have been establishing the concept of the multiverse, specifically in Loki, and sort of sly references to it in WandaVision. And we know that it's going to be a focus of some of the upcoming feature films. And my concern has been that might be such a mind-bending concept. As we know from Loki, it's the idea of different universes branching off when a certain decision is made or a certain act is taken, creating a parallel timeline, an alternative timeline where there are different variants of different characters. And I did wonder if that idea was a bit too wild for the general audience who are really tuned into Marvel films and Marvel series, who want a good adventure series or adventure film with superheroes and supervillains, bit of jokes and a lot of spectacle. And I just wondered if this was maybe a bit too much to expect a more casual audience to accept. But I think what this series does arriving now, it boils that idea down and makes it much more palatable and much simpler to understand. The whole series is introduced by a character called the Watcher, who's played or voiced by Jeffrey Wright, who explains in very simple terms about the idea of the multiverse and how different things could have happened on the basis of events that take place in our world and how alternative timelines exist. And he basically tells the story of what happens in those timelines. And I think that makes it slightly more interesting and slightly more easy to understand if you're not really of a mind to dig deep into the arcane mysteries of parallel universes and all this sort of stuff, which can be a little bit off-putting because you sort of think, well, these aren't the real people, these aren't the people I've been following, why should I care about them? But I think what this series does particularly is make this a much simpler idea, a much more comprehensible idea. And certainly from the 3 episodes I've been lucky enough to see, it really puts forward some interesting ideas about things that might have been but never were. As I said, I've seen 3 episodes and I've really enjoyed them all. What I particularly enjoyed about them is that they don't feel that they're cartoons, they don't feel that they're written for kids, they feel that they're written for the same audience that enjoys the films. Now, whether there's going to be a problem in getting adults and older audiences to watch a cartoon, I don't know. But if they do sit and watch it, they will find that the scripting is very mature, the storytelling is very mature. There's a few little gags that are clearly aimed at older heads in the audience. Probably not much in the way The Simpsons often has those sort of slightly more adult gags. But there's little references, and there's even a little bit of swearing in one or two episodes. Nothing extreme, just no F's and C's, just a bit of I think somebody says bloody at one point. But I just found these 3 episodes hugely impressive and hugely enjoyable, and I was just staggered at the talent that they've got involved, and I think it shows the power of the Marvel Studios brand and the loyalty that it engenders amongst the people who work for it, because these episodes are all about major characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they've got a lot of the voices back to play them. Now, the first episode, I think, has been widely publicised as being the episode where what if Peggy Carter became Captain America, not Steve Rogers. This takes us right back to the flavour of Joe Johnston's Captain America the First Avenger, one of the early Marvel Cinematic Universe films, and it evokes that World War II feeling where it's Peggy who gets the super serum, it's Peggy who becomes Captain America, and it's Peggy who takes on the Red Skull, teams up with Bucky Barnes, and eventually finds herself where Steve Rogers did in Captain America the First Avenger. I'm trying not to spoil it too much, but it's very interesting the way that they've sort of created these parallel stories that sort of take you back where the original characters belong, if you like. And I know that doesn't sound as if it makes much sense, but when you see it, you will understand. What has impressed me about this whole series that I've seen so far, as I mentioned, is the quality of the original voice acting. You've got Hayley Atwell playing Peggy Carter. You've got Dominic Cooper back playing Tony Stark's father, Howard Stark. You've got Toby Jones making a quick guest appearance as a Russian scientist. You've got Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier himself, playing Bucky Barnes. You don't get the original Captain America, you don't get Chris Evans back, but you do get a look-alike, a sound-alike who could be Chris Evans, so you don't really notice that it's not him particularly. But it's a great rip-roaring story with some great action sequences, really well-animated fight scenes. There's a great monster at the end, and there was an appearance by 2 characters at the end that made me go, WTF, they've actually got these 2 back for this one scene. That isn't actually the case, because you see a bit more of those characters in episode 3. The second episode is it's quite poignant, because it's sort of the story of what would have happened if Peter Quill hadn't been abducted and adopted by the Reavers, or the Ravagers, led by Michael Rooker's Londu, but it was actually a young T'Challa from Wakanda. And the story sort of takes us back to the abandoned planet Morag, which you may remember from Guardians of the Galaxy, where we meet Star-Lord, but this time it's T'Challa, as we know as Black Panther. He's voiced by Chadwick Boseman, which I believe was the last work that he did before his tragic passing earlier this year. He sounds great. I mean, he brings all that grace and fire and nobility that he brought to the role of Black Panther on screen, and again it makes you realise what a loss he is, not only to Marvel but to the acting world, because he's such a great performer, and he just bounces off the other characters in this so beautifully. I mean, again, the quality of the supporting voice cast, the story basically, he's sort of a new version of Guardians of the Galaxy, with some quite bizarre members, including Karen Gillan playing Nebula, Josh Brolin playing Thanos. Of course, we know Thanos from Infinity War and Endgame. Here playing a better-natured character, although he does make a little sly reference to the fact that the universe is overpopulated and a planet he has. And they're launched into battle with sort of a heist story with the Collector, played as in the films by Benicio del Toro. There's even an appearance by Howard the Duck, who's voiced now by Seth Green. So this is really, it's really deep diving into Marvel lore, but doing some really interesting things. And the story itself is linear enough to appeal to people who aren't familiar with that side of Marvel. Much as Guardians of the Galaxy films themselves are very, very acceptable and very approachable and can appeal to a huge, broader audience. It was just a great episode, a really nice episode, and a nice memorial for Chadwick Boseman. I think episode 3 has been my favourite so far. I mean, they're all great episodes. The animation is fantastic. The voice cast is just incredible to hear these people that we've seen on the big screen. They're willing to come back and voice an animated series, and I'm trying not to call it a cartoon because it's so much more than that. Episode 3 takes us to Nick Fury trying to put the Avengers together. He's recruited Iron Man and Hawkeye and Black Widow, but now he's faced with people like Thor and the Hulk. But unfortunately, somebody's decided to assassinate all these characters before they can actually become the Avengers. So you get Tony Stark as Iron Man. It's not Robert Downey Jr., but again, it's a fantastic impression of him. He's assassinated. Hawkeye, played again by Jeremy Renner, is assassinated. And I must mention that Nick Fury is played by Samuel L. Jackson. Clark Gregg is back as Agent Coulson. Mark Ruffalo plays Bruce Banner and the Hulk. And it's just astonishing. Thor makes an appearance, but he doesn't get to speak because he's assassinated during the events of the Thor film. I mean, it's so well done, it's so well put together, and this one in particular, riffs on moments that we know from the MCU, particularly from things like the original Thor film. And then eventually, Nick Fury finds out who's behind all this and who's committing these atrocities. And it's another familiar figure from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, played by another acting legend. And I was just knocked out when I looked at the credits and thought, wow, this is just incredible. That this is what the Marvel brand means now, that you can get these A-list actors playing the animated, I almost said cartoon, playing the animated versions of these characters that they've played in live action. And I think it's just astonishing. So on the basis of its first 3 episodes, I think What If is going to be a treat. So I just want to say to you once again, it's not a cartoon series, it's not a Saturday morning kids thing. It is as much a part of the Marvel brand as any of the films, any of the TV series. It's been treated with the same level of care and respect, and not exactly reverence, but it's treated as a Marvel product in the highest possible sense. It's not just a slapdash thrown off cartoon, a spin-off just for the sake of it. And this is something which I think will come in very useful for people who are a bit bewildered by the multiverse thing, because it does simplify it and it does explain what it's all about. And it's created, certainly for these first 3 episodes, really interesting stories based on characters that we know. And again, if nothing else, it's nice to see all these characters, some of whom we probably won't see again in the MCU, reprising these roles one more time. And it just feels like part of the MCU. I know there's been a lot of Marvel animated series and things in the past, even since the MCU, and it's not really part of the MCU because it doesn't involve the same talent, but this has got that sort of mark of quality that we've come to expect from Marvel. So that's What If, which debuts tomorrow on Disney Plus. I think there's 8 episodes, but I'm not entirely sure. But I've seen this, lucky enough to see the first 3, and it really, I went in sort of thinking, this is going to be a slightly dreary cartoon, but it really isn't. It feels like a top drawer Marvel product, and what more can you ask for? And because of that, it gets from me a big 9 out of 10 on the basis of the first 3 episodes. Really looking forward to seeing the rest of it. And if you were thinking it's one you could skip, don't, because you'll regret it, because this is just really seriously good telly. So that's Marvel's What If, arriving tomorrow on Disney Plus. Take a look, don't miss it. Right, that's me for this video. Thank you for watching, hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I haven't spoiled the episodes too much, but I just wanted to get an early review up in case there may be a lot of people out there thinking, no, I'm not going to bother with the cartoon, but it is so much more than that. It is as essential a part of the MCU and the Marvel Universe as anything else that they've brought out and are bringing out. So there we are. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, thumbs up and all that sort of stuff. Keep watching this channel because there's a lot more stuff to come, hopefully. So until we meet next time, you know what they say. Keep taking the stuff.